Welcome viewers once again to this NPTEL course on educational literacy. So, just in the last class we have discussed about the professional development, the CPD, its components, its requirement, etc. Now, on the basis of that I will just discuss about a figure, a design given by some authors, like how the in the professional development program, how the different factors interplay, what are the factors, how these factors interplay among themselves and what are its importance and how it relates to each other and how to achieve the goals of each and every aspect of professional development. So, first thing is that if we plan it on the institutional platform, like suppose if the organization or institution draws a blueprint of of professional development programs for its faculty or for its colleagues or for the staffs, administrative staffs or for the junior teachers, etc. So, we have to take into account the whole scenario, like for example, for whom we are planning the training program, for whom we are planning the CPD program. So, first of all we have to apprise their existing skills and knowledge. Now, in a few sector only, like in school sectors, for the school teachers, we have only the pre-service teacher training programs, teacher education programs, and after that continuous or in-service programs are there, but for that is not available for every sector of education. Like for example, for college teachers, even for the technical teachers, engineering teachers, we do not have that kind of pre-service mandatory pre-service training programs. So, so by just qualifying in some eligibility test, etc., whenever they enter into the jobs profession, then later on they go through different in-service training programs. So, so in that situation, for example, if we try to draw a professional development plan for our new faculty members or the freshers, etc. So, first of all we have to apprise ourselves, that means we have to know about the our faculty members or the teachers existing knowledge, skills and competencies. On the basis of that we can identify what are their training needs, what are their special needs, that on which aspects actually they need immediate training or they need any immediate kind of training program, like it happens in the organizations also. So, first is that need assessment. So, it gives us a kind of appraisal, like what kind of knowledge, skill, competencies they are possessing right now and what extra things or what new things they should know right now, or they should update their knowledge for catering to the needs of our students, our stakeholders, etc., or for delivering the effective teaching or learning in the classroom situations. So, first is that appraisal. So, let us start with the appraisal. So, appraisal, then comes the departmental aims and priorities. So, every college, every institution, every department, every faculty, they have their own requirements. In it differs from science to engineering to humanities to social science to skill development. So, different depending on the type or nature of institution it is, or they have their own departmental aims and priorities. So, they have to fulfill it. So, we have to identify what are the departmental aims and priorities. Second is the on the basis of that, how do we plan the faculty development programs, and on the basis of that, like some our teachers are very weak in designing the curriculum, or weak in assessing the individual learners performance in a large class or for addressing the needs of the larger classroom, etc. So, depending on that we design a faculty development plan. Then on the basis of that, when we design the training program, so we have to identify actually what would be our training objectives, instructional objectives through which we want to bring some changes, certain changes in our faculty members, in our faculty. So, we have to also specify the training objectives, instructional objectives, or what changes we try to bring among our faculty. Second comes here, again whatever we are trying to bring or we are trying to achieve, it must match with our national needs also. At the moment, what are our educational needs at the national level? So, we have to keep an eye on or take into perspective the national demands also in the type of profession, in the type of education we are performing. So, what are the national demands? Second, then next comes your opportunity to develop. Then again in that particular context, depending on particular situation and context, the job situation in the market, etc., or the type of educational institutions that exist nowadays, etc. So, what are the opportunities available? What are the opportunities available to develop our discipline, to develop our subject knowledge, to develop our domain knowledge, and how we can update, how we can groom our faculty members, nurture our junior teachers or freshers, and how we can enable them to avail those opportunities available in the present scenario. Then comes our preferred learning style. Yes, every individual learner, be it a child or an adult or whatever, every individual learner has some preferred learning style. Some people they they prefer to learn by listening to the lectures and observing the teachers delivering it in the classroom. Some teachers, some people they prefer visualize things, go through the visual clips, go through the video clips, and maximally learn. Some people they prefer to learn by doing themselves, by engaging themselves. So, in that case we have to vary the situation, learning situation. So, in that situation, like especially in the technical skills, mechanical skills, or like automobile designing, or civil designing, civil construction design, or in science subjects also. So, they need to be engaged in a particular learning situation to learn something. So, we have to identify also preferred learning style of different types of learner groups or trainees, and on the basis of that we have to design the training modules or the contents. Second, then next comes the personal demands and the individual demand. Often institutional, there are different institutional demands are like there, like for engineering college, science college, or college of architecture, etc. They have their institutional demands, like on the basis of the that means the national requirements. So the institution also has set some of the institutional requirements to establish itself in the market, to establish its accreditation, to establish its reputation and quality. So, institutional has also posed some of the needs, goals, objectives for its own establishment, reputation, quality, etc. So, in that way institutional demands, like what institution demands or expects from the faculty members or the employees. So, similarly at the same time, even though I am a teacher, I have some personal career plans and goals and needs and professional needs and objectives. So, you have to identify personal needs and goals of the individual faculty member or the staff or the colleague, or at the same time you have to map it with the institutional goals, objectives and the demands. So, what happens, our personal goals, aspirations and objective, it comes as a part of institutional goals, objective, demands, then it is self fulfilling, it is complementary to each other. But so while delivering or achieving the objectives of the institution as a whole, we are also simultaneously fulfilling our own personal professional needs also. So, in that situation, in that context, it is complementary to each other. Okay. So, that is why the when getting into a particular profession, we must set our own career goals, professional goals, etc., and we try to map it in the context of institutional goals, in the context of organizational goals. So, some of the instances, like for example, again it will vary from institution to institution depending on the type of institution it is, whether it is a government institution or private institution, because in between these two their institutional goals and objectives vary. So, government and private, technical and non-technical, school and college, and you can say on other kinds of fields, like if it is a sports academy, it is different. If it is an fashion designing academy, it is different. If it is a art academy, it is different. So, it will vary from the institution to institution. Then, but again, before joining, before selecting a job and profession, entering into it, we must map our personal professional needs, career goals with the institutional demands, and we have to prepare ourselves that to what extent I can cater to the institutional needs and at the same time I can fulfill my own goals. If there is a huge gap, if there is a huge gap gradually emerges, then there will be demotivation, there will be less job satisfaction among the faculty members, and at the same time there will be huge gap between the faculty member or the person or the individual and the institution. When the gap enlarges, automatically there is a failure of programs, academic programs, failure of institutional reputation, failure of individuals motivation, all kinds of setbacks. Now, next comes you as the professional. That means we have to think ourselves as the professional. Like suppose if I am claiming myself to be a professional, then I must identify my pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses, my competencies, existing competencies, what are the new expected competency I need to acquire, I need to learn. So hence I have to update my skills and competencies. Like suppose I have to update my ICT skills, I have to update my computational skill, I have to update my networking skills, I have to update my communication skills, I have to update my lab skills. So different kinds of skills. So all the time we must reflect upon our own practices, own performance, own knowledge, domain knowledge, practices, etc. So how do we see ourselves as the professional? How do we evaluate ourselves as the professional? Then comes our changing responsibility. Again, even if we are the faculty members, even if we are the professionals, our job responsibilities also keeps on changing within the institution from one type of job to another type of job. So job responsibilities often changes, and we have to prepare ourselves for that responsibilities or new duties as well. So on the basis of that changing responsibility, changing post, etc., job requirements also changes. Different types of job demands different kinds of work competency and the skills and attitudes. So depending on the job requirements, we have to update ourselves. So again the appraisal. So it's a cyclic process, is the online continuous learning cycle. So in this way we can design a faculty development program in a particular organizational or educational institution, keeping in mind these important factors. Again, and the institution has its goals and objectives and responsibilities for us, etc., and it also expects us to do certain things. So there comes so here institutional needs becomes our priority, where institutional needs becomes our priority, because we are a part of it, we are an employee, and we have to achieve these goals and objectives for the institution. So here institutional needs becomes the topmost priority. Second, gradually when we move on, slight dominance of institutional needs over the individual needs. Even though we are a professional here and we are supposed to deliver the needs of fulfill the needs of institution, but gradually when we move on, we grow up, so there is a slight dominance of. So that means we also try to, within that framework, we also try to achieve our personal needs, individual needs. So here gradually we move on, we just increase to focus on individual needs. So there is even then there is a dominance of the institutional needs, even though we try to achieve our individual needs, aspirations, but there is a slight dominance of institutional needs, because it becomes our first priority, then individual needs becomes the second priority. Then again when we move on, suppose it to the middle level career, etc. So then there is the slight dominance of individual needs over the institutional needs. So here in the first one, it was the dominance of institutional needs over the individual needs. That means we try to achieve our personal goals, individual needs first. It becomes very prominent for us now. In the third stage, slight dominance of individual needs over the institution. So here again there is a slight dominance of individual needs over the institutional needs. That means still individual institutional needs becomes our priority. So on the fourth stage, again we move on in the continuum, dominance of individual needs over the institution. So gradually now at this stage, the fourth stage, our individual needs becomes more important than our institutional needs. Then gradually when move on towards the further step, that is the personal needs. So it's a continuum, it's a scale. So we keep on changing ourselves from individual institutional needs to personal needs. Overlapping with the overlapping of these two factors takes place. slightly dominance of institutional or slightly dominance of individual needs, depending on the situation, depending on the requirements, depending on the duties and responsibilities of the situation. So, now again at the same time, if we are in the education platform, then we have to update ourselves about the 21st century's learners are, their characteristic features. Like at this present stage, in the past there was, it was a traditional traditional phase of education where it was more teacher focused, classroom kind of teaching, but with this techno savvy situation with ICT exploration, our learners have also changed drastically, and their characteristic features also have changed. Now, we need to know about it, we need to understand these characteristic features of our 21st century learners. So, what are these learners characteristics? First is that they are collaboratives. See, in this ICT age, in this ICT age, they have learned to, these 21st century learners, they have learned to work together, learn together. So, they are the collaborative learners. So, often they become the member of different kinds of projects, assignments, teams, etc. And we are also, being the educator, our education system also promotes this. Okay, also promotes this. We also discourage this, not exactly discourage, but we give less importance to individual learning. Self learning is important, but we try to promote, encourage our students, encourage our learners to learn collaboratively, because when you learn collaboratively, not only the individual learner learns, but the whole group learns, the whole team members learn. So, we again collaborative learning also helps them in not only knowing the subject or enhancing that domain knowledge, but also to learn certain other skills like helping others, then sharing with others, then cooperative skills, communication skills, then the leadership skills. So, different kinds of social skills also they learn in the collaborative learning environment, and we the 21st century educators also, we try to promote it. So, the learners are very collaborative, and again they are very good at networking. They are very good at networking, they develop their own professional networks with their seniors, with their juniors, with their peers, and with the students outside the institutions. So, they are very good networkers and the communicators. They instant with this instant chatting, instant SMS, instant mobile app using, etc. So, they are very good communicators, they are very good networks, and they are the collaborative learners. Okay. So, now next is that they are very adaptive and creative. They can adapt to any kind of learning situation, be it in the face to face classroom situation, in the virtual learning situation, in the labs, in the in the actual situation context, that is situational learning, or in particular reality, the problem centered realistic situation. Put them in any kind of situation, they are well adaptive and also they are creative. With the exposure to enormous resources, learning resources, materials, literature and technology, and so technology, latest technology and gadgets, all kinds of gadgets, etc. They have become very highly creative. They are the creative designers and they are very creative in that field. So, again they are the information, media and techno savvy people. They are very much updated with the latest latest information, the media and the technology, the latest technology also. They are very techno savvy people, they are media savvy, information savvy, they are very up to date, latest in terms of information. Then, but however, they have another characteristics, that is the partial instant gratification. Like like nowadays the learners are very much restless, they are spontaneous, they are quite adaptive, they are quite creative, imaginative, very good networks, everything, but they are impatient, they are restless, they are they need to achieve the taste of success very instantly. So, they need instant gratification. That means, whatever they are doing, they just want to have a taste of the success immediately. So, they need the instant feedback also, and so that is a partial instant gratification. They cannot wait for a long time to to taste the success of their effort or the success of their performance. So, partial instant gratification. So, in order to sustain their attention, in order to sustain their motivation, etc., we need to give them the partial feedback, instant feedback. So, to gratify their needs, to gratify their academic needs, career needs, or the personal needs of getting the satisfaction out of the yes, I have done it. It enhances their self efficacy and sense of accomplishment, etc. So, partial instant gratification. The 21st century learners, they want the instant gratification. Again, they are reliant on media in its various forms. They are very, not only very adaptive, they are very techno savvy, but they rely more on the media and its various forms, like nowadays it is Facebook, LinkedIn, blogs and Twitter, all kinds of, not only they are very much engaged in, but they are very much active and reliant on these media in different kinds of its forms. So, that is we have to the 21st century teachers, we have to be very up to date in our professional learning also. Okay. So, how, so it is again it is a part of the CPD, like what should be the mode of the pattern of professional learning in the CPD program. Like all the faculty members throughout their careers, they must remain students. We have to update ourselves according to the need of the situation, according to the needs of the learners, according to need of the needs of our stakeholders, needs of the society. So, we must, that is why we must remain the students for our whole career, for the life, that means that is the lifelong learning. We must be the lifelong learners. Then must continue to learn and be seriously engaged in academics and research. Learning is not just learning means acquiring the knowledge, being complacent and sitting down in our drawing room or in our staff common room. It is not just enough. Continue to learn again, but again we have to apply it. So, seriously, be seriously engaged in whatever you have learned. We have to engage in the active implications and application of that knowledge in our academic practices, academic profession, and again to to upgrade it, to go beyond it, we have to engage ourselves in research also. So, continuous learning followed by engagement in different kinds of academic activities, pedagogical practice, content development, etc., again followed by the research. So, again from the research, whatever input we will take it, we will again on the basis of that we will try to find out some other pedagogy, some other new innovative ideas, some other issues, or we must have a reality check on what is going on, what I am thinking of actually, and what is actually going on in the reality, and what is the gap. So, what is the gap between expectations of the learners and expectations of the institutional heads, administrators, and my capability to deliver it. So, we have to always find out the gaps from the constant analysis, reflective thinking, etc. So, that is that they must continue to learn, be seriously engaged in academics and all academic practices, and again also as well engage ourselves in research, because research again gives us the input. Then continuous upgradation of the skills and competencies. So, skills, what is the difference between skills and competence? Skills are you can say the basic level of knowing certain things, about performing certain things. Skills are, you can say, basic fundamentals, and competence is that when you have acquired the skills, when you are now you flexibly, intellectually, intelligently using it for different purposes, for solving the different kinds of problems. So, that means when you blend the intelligence with the skills, so it becomes a competencies. Now, you are competent enough to flexibly use it for different purposes, for different problem solving situation, for different in different situation, etc. That is the competencies, and the capabilities are beyond that. Capabilities means you are enhancing, stretching your abilities to use it further in a sustainable way in future also. So, that is a continuous upgradation of skills, competencies, abilities, capabilities, as well as the different kinds of domain knowledge also required. Then comes should relearn from the teaching, learning, and reflective thinking. Again, learning is not just about the new learning only, or new practices, or research, but again learning also involves relearning. Sometimes we have to unlearn. So, it is learning, relearning, unlearning certain things, again new learning, again learning and engage in the research, again upgrading ourselves. So, that is why we should also be engaged in relearning from teaching when we actually practice it, teaching, then learning the new things, and reflective thinking. So, in this process we learn, unlearn, relearn, and we again innovate some new practices, and again we try to implement it. So, in that context 21st century educators are. So, here through our professional development programs, pre-service, in-service training programs and CPDs as well. So, we are also, the 21st century educators are also oriented towards this change. So, now we have to understand that yes, it is the today's education learning system is the more student centric, hence they also prepare themselves to be student centric and holistic. Okay, holistic in the sense that we are not just focusing on our own domain knowledge, own discipline etc., but we have to interrelate it with other disciplines as well, other subjects as well. So, we must have a larger view, that is students are being the student centric and having the holistic perspective of that discipline and subject. Then adapters to the curriculum requirements as per the requirements of the age of the our educational national educational demands, our country's requirement, our society's requirement, our stakeholders requirement, we have to update our curriculums also, because we need to update our courses and syllabus, curriculum etc., for for preparing our students for the job markets as well. So, we are also we have to be the quick adopters to the curriculum requirements, what the present curriculum requires, and again how to use the ICT for very aptly and very skillfully for our teaching and learning performances, and we have to apprise ourselves or make ourselves familiar with the students learning styles, different preferred learning styles. So, the 21st century educators are also adapted to this adapters to the latest curriculum, ICT use and students learning tasks. Again they are also the visionary leaders. That means they often engage themselves in the imagination of the future. What would be the future learning situation if at this present stage with the ICT exploration and open learning source of materials, this is the situation, this is the context, then what would be the future education system. So, they are also the visionary teachers. So, they engage themselves in imagination and adaptability. Not only they adopt quickly adopt themselves, update themselves, very apt in using the latest technology and tools, but they often are engaged in imagination and also visualize the future, what would be the future learning model. So, imagination and adaptability are the key components, and which are the potential in emerging the tools and web technology. So, they also update themselves in using the latest web technology, emerging tools like the different kinds of mobile apps, LMS systems and learning management tools, and different kinds of pedagogical innovations like peer tutoring, flipped instruction, and problem based learning, all kinds of new pedagogical techniques, emerging tools and the web technology also they use it very aptly. Then collaborators. So, nowadays the teacher's role has been changed to be a facilitator, a mentor, a collaborator, a guide for motivating the learners for the self learning. So, the collaborator, as a moderator, as a facilitator, as a referee, as a mentor. So, these are the multiple roles the 21st century educators they play. Often they are the risk takers, and the learners, because they also venture into the new new era of designing the new pattern, new curriculum, new problems, new assignments. So, they set the new goals for tapping the students' knowledge. So, often they intentionally do it to tap the students, present generation students knowledge of technology, because they are very techno savvy, very intelligent, very creative. So, how to tap their potentials, how to tap their talents. So, in order to tap the students knowledge, their technology knowledge and their creativity, their talent etc., they also often engage themselves, engage the learners by giving them very tough assignments, problem based learning, and to make them more creative, more active thinker, active learner, and again help them in creating that interest and motivation for being a continuous learner, lifelong learners, and stay up to date by observing the new experiences. So, that means they motivate them to learn how to learn. how to learn effectively, how to stay on in the learning process, how to sustain that learning process, how to sustain your learning and motivation, etc. Then they are very good communicators also. They communicate all kinds of, it is not just about the academic content knowledge, etc., but today's educators, they communicate all kinds of information, both personal, emotional, informal, formal, all kinds of information, starting from the general knowledge, world news, to the climate, to the to the social changes, to the global trends, all kinds of things. So they also often, they should also, and they often act as a role model to whom the current generation learners, students, and the freshers and young teachers, they could identify, and to be an efficient and effective educator or the professional trainers. Then they are the educational leader in their own sphere. Definitely they are the educational leader, as because they are doing multiple tasks, they are performing multiple things. So they are actually behaving like a education leader, but here our focus is to how to enhance their capabilities, how to enhance their job satisfaction, how to enhance their motivation, and how to, because in that way how they can work on sustainably for the for achieving the professional excellence, etc. Now in this context we will just see the YouTube on this professional development.
Showed you the first was like a layer, and I don't have time to talk about it, but I'm just going to mention it. This is what you do. These are our arenas of action as teachers, a way of thinking about how we can have the impact we want to have. But ultimately, the impact we want to have is way beyond our control. It depends upon student response. And student response is up to students. You can't make somebody think. You can't compel or coerce or lure someone into engagement. They have to come to engagement. You facilitate, you encourage, you nurture, you acknowledge, but you cannot make engagement happen. So student response is the next layer. It's completely beyond our control. What are the elements of student response that are liable to result in engagement is the subject of layer 2. And I don't have time to talk about it, but I'm just going to show it to you and again invite you to think of your own. For me, again, building on Daniel Pink's notion that motivation arises from purpose, mastery, and autonomy, and using the Canadian Education Association research, I'm going to suggest to you that number 1, students have to see what they're doing as purposeful and significant in their lives. They have to find a personal form of connection to this learning that is either significant in itself or will allow them to do something that is significant.
Thank you, viewers.